Sure.
Yeah, there we go. So we're recording. So hey guys, we're doing just a quick little video chat to talk about the sort of program with Elliot, who has done the program. He actually started it. When did we start? It was this time last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was between the two lockdowns. So between lockdown 1 and lockdown 2, yeah.
So yeah, we kind of started, and it all kind of came about from a post that something I posted up on Facebook.
It was one of your Facebook posts, and we hadn't spoken in over a decade. But you suddenly started doing these Facebook posts, and I'll be honest, I'd moved down from the northeast. I'd put on a lot of COVID curves, as I call them, and it was good timing, really.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was. I think I'm glad that I wrote that, and I'm really glad that we were able to reconnect. It's been good. It's been it's now 12 months on really. So it's been quite. It's been really, really good. It's been really good to have you back. And those photos yesterday were quite nostalgic. I might be share those in the comments, guys, if you take a look about us about 13 years ago. No, that was good actually. They brought back some good memories.
Yeah, wasn't bad. Although I needed a haircut, was my reflection on seeing myself on one of them. I was like, you need a haircut.
It's quite similar to lockdown, really, I guess.
Exactly the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the kind of? So I'm curious. So you've told me sort of a lot about sort of what kind of place you were in, but I think it's probably good for others to kind of see what sort of place you were in. Before kind of we actually got together, started working together. Where were you at? Do you think you've got a summary of? Just give us a summary of what that was like for you.
So I mean, I have depression, so there is a certain part of me which I find it difficult to get motivated to go and exercise. I guess I was starting from a position where my fitness journey has been a complete yo-yo. I mean, I've literally, I've been incredibly fit, I've been very unfit. And I moved down south for work. So I'd previously worked up in the northeast. So I'd just blown up my whole routine, was gone, and had no structure around me. And it was all the worst habits that I'm prone to were just forming and crystallizing and becoming very, very solid. So although I had, only about a year earlier been really, really fit, done marathons and, was breaking my sort of personal best deadlift every time I tried it, I was losing everything. I was sort of, it's almost like sort of you sink into the sofa and I couldn't get off the sofa and I was just sort of sat there, and it was very negative reinforcing cycles of sort of, your reward and your sort of comfort are the same, reaching for a drink or that extra beer at the end of the day. And, it becomes easy to go, oh, you've worked a really long day. You don't need to go for a run. You've earned this. And that sort of cycle was becoming very, very strong to the point where I didn't even realize I was doing it anymore. And that's when I saw your Facebook post.
That's amazing. That's really cool. So, but it was basically, so at that point, it wasn't, in your mind, it probably wasn't a great space to be in.
No. I mean, it wasn't as low as I've ever been in my life, but it was, it was between wave 1 and 2. I was working crazy hours. I still do, if I'm really honest. But I had none of my structures around me that I need in order to sort of function properly in terms of staying healthy, staying well. And because of lockdown, I hadn't been able to put them in place as I'd expected I was going to be able to once I'd moved. So I was much further down the road than I'd ever expected to get. So it's no. On that, I give myself a small pass, but it still was becoming very unhealthy. Yeah.
So by sort of further down the road, that's what you mean by just being slightly less.
The negative habits had formed and were really embedded, particularly food and alcohol. Being honest, I was drinking and eating way too much, and that then led to not wanting to train, which then led to eating, drinking more, and so on and so forth. So it was it's not a great place to be in.
It's kind of a cycle, then, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
And did you find anything that was kind of different in the approach that you kind of took, that we took, that you found that was different from before when you'd kind of done these health drives? Did you notice anything that was different about it?
Yes. So it was really there were two differences. You showed me how to deadlift properly. That was probably the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, so on the raw physics of it. So yes, I've been going to gyms since those photos of us at school, but I'd never. And I've had coaches before. I've had some great coaches, but I'd never got trainers. I'd never had a coach. It's probably the difference between the two. And I know CrossFit is a very, very particular about how it does things. So you took me back to square one, which I hated, deconstructed my technique, which I really objected to. I wasn't, not what I was expecting. I struggled with. But my strength has gone, through the roof. That's probably actually not the strength. They're just able to move more because I'm doing it in the right way biomechanically.
Yeah.
But to be honest, the biggest difference was the attention to the stuff that isn't in the gym. It was like you looked at food, yes, so nutrition, but also psychology, the habits I talked about. Sat me down, once a week for that first 12 and go, right, what have you done? What's your goal for today? What's your goal for this week? Have you kept to it? Have me send you pictures? So there was a huge amount of front-loaded accountability, which is kind of what I needed to break those habits, because they were really deep. And I'm someone who, once I get comfy in a bad routine, it's really, really hard for me to snap out of it.
I think that's like a lot of us, to be honest. Like, change is really hard, so it does take quite a bit of effort, and also almost like a team to kind of help you kind of achieve it, to actually really kind of ensure your chance of success is having that network around you and a coach and structure, just makes you far more likely to actually stick at those changes.
And that was the big difference for me with this program. It wasn't, I would hesitate to actually call it a fitness program. It was really just a wellness. It felt like a wellness program. It was like, okay, yes, there's a physical side to it, which I really enjoy now. And I've, lockdown accepting, I've been quite regular in attending the classes and all, but it was more it's little things like focusing on nutrition, yes, but also why are these habits forming? What's your thought process when you reach for that second glass of wine? It's okay to have it, but what do you do it consciously? And it was having that sort of really deconstructed, what are you doing? And yes, I still probably drink a bit too much, but at least it's less and it's done in a conscious way. Like, I know I'm much more accountable to myself. Okay, if I choose to do this, you're not going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go for your run.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say that kind of you're like a little bit more moderate now than sort of before it was quite all or nothing? Do you think, in terms of your approach?
Yeah, this is probably the first time where I'm sort of, apart from this week, obviously I'm away, but I'd normally go between 3 and 5 times a week to train. Probably more at the moment towards the lower end of that scale, but that's the first time I've ever done a moderate. It's normally, as you say, either 0 or I've been going 7 days a week plus running. That's been my cycle. So this is the first time that's somewhere in the middle. Don't get me wrong, I'd like to do more, but at the moment, I think it's what I'm capable of, which, again, the other part of this was sort of saying that's okay. You don't have to be a superstar. You don't have to sort of be training 7 times a week to get health benefits, or you don't have to eat clean 6 days a week and have one cheat meal. You can actually, as long as you're keeping an eye on your calories and you're nutritionally balanced, overall, don't stress it. So it was almost having that permission. It made it less of a psychological battle with it. Felt less guilt. It's probably for when you screw up, because it's very easy to go, oh crap, I had a Chinese. Oh damn, that feels really terrible. Actually, it's like, no, you had it, but just be sensible tomorrow.
It's kind of like not beating yourself up and learning not to do that and training yourself out of that.
Yeah, admittedly, you'd prefer I didn't have the Chinese, but that's not.
Well, it does. Again, like, life is going to be there. So, like, in a modern world, we have those. You have Deliveroo on the simplest, like an app, so you can literally just order anything. So, it's nothing to feel too guilty about. I think it's just about, again, just moderating it. But it's really, really cool. So, like, do you think that if someone was thinking about doing something like this, do you think, what might you say to them before they're kind of, making the decision?
I would say you're going to go into it thinking it's, because you run a gym and because you're a trainer,
Yeah.
Be warned that actually what you expect it to be is not Archie yelling at you, beasting you, doing a mile run and 100 push-ups, which actually I would quite enjoy. I quite like that side of it. You wouldn't let me do that until you'd sat me down and deconstructed a load of stuff. So I guess be prepared for it to be quite intense and to be very accountable up front, and that it actually is quite a lot of effort. It's not difficult. It's made as easy as possible. You're always at the end of a phone. There's an app and everything that goes with it, but you do have to put in that time. And it would be, if you're going to do this, be aware of what you're signing up to, the benefits to go with it, but also that you do have to jump with both feet. You can't sort of half it.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you there. It's definitely.
Otherwise, you just, so there was a couple of weeks early on, and I know you called me out on it, when I really dropped off, and it was work, my standard excuses work was crazy. It was, and you said, look, if we're going to do this, we're going to stop now. Because it was a waste of your time, a waste of my time, waste of money, it just wasn't going to happen. And so, in other words, I would say absolutely do it, but go in knowing that you have to make this a big part of your life for 12 weeks initially, and then build from there.
And be willing to put the effort in, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool. Mate, I really, really appreciate you getting on this. We're going to stop there. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. If you've made it this far, thank you. And if you like this, or just comment, and just any questions below, probably either myself or Elliot probably might answer some of them. Might be further comments, so no. But yeah, thanks, mate, for getting on. And we're going to stop there.
No problem.
So there we go.